all of your examples of oppression or people going through struggle were all from the black community.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but this reads off to me as jealousy. This man is jealous that one racial group's problems is being talked about and not his own, and they're being talked about from the people at the highest point of the racial hierarchy. I feel like a lot of people of color feel that white people don't talk about the issues in their racial group enough, the issues that, we can all argue white people have caused. And I feel like when they hear white people talking about our issues, it pisses them off because they feel like their issues aren't represented in the same nature. But instead of being mad at white people, they're mad at us, and they're mad at how active and loud we are about our problems, except when they need us to act for them because they feel like our tactics work. Because then they pull that POC unite. The thing is, these groups need to learn that they will never get anywhere hating on black people. And they will never get anywhere trying to kiss the YT man's ass. If you feel like your problems are not being talked about, be louder. But don't get mad at one specific group because they're doing what they have to do to be seen.
I think you build a foundation of your speech on working against identity politics. Yet, I think so conveniently, and it was kind of ignorant, that all of your examples of oppression or people going through struggle were all from the black community. So if you could so conveniently use one specific ethnicity to kind of propagate your ideals, is that not identity politics in itself?
You allege I only spoke about what black people face in this society and that that's a form of identity politics. In fact, it is not. First of all, I spoke about the Bangladeshi women in the sweatshops sewing our clothes. I talked about women who've been forced to have children against their will in that form of enslavement. I spoke about trans people who have faced over 500 laws this year introduced or passed, not to mention the terror that's enforced against them. I spoke about what happens on this planet as a whole as it is heating due to the destruction of climate change driven forward by the system of capitalism, imperialism. So if you missed all that, I'm not surprised if you also missed some of the scientific undergirdings of it. But to be fair, I will walk through it again. I speak about black people in a very pronounced way when we come to revolution because the exploitation, the enslavement, the dehumanization, and the degradation that's been inflicted on black people is foundational to this society and this system. And that is scientifically a fact. It's evidence-based. The wealth of this country, the territorial reach of this country, the military strength of this country got its roots in American slavery, the chattel slavery of black people. And then on that foundation, the ideology of white supremacy, of black inferiority was propagated. It was made a bedrock of one of the glues of this society, and it has been woven into this society ever since. The forms of oppression have changed. It took a civil war to end slavery, but then what happened? After not even 10 years of Reconstruction, where black people were brought into some rights within this country, that was betrayed. The troops were pulled out, and black people were re-enslaved in new conditions, slavery by another name, sharecropping for generations, serf-like conditions enforced through terror, lynch mob terror and violence. And the troops were pulled out to go and finish off the extermination of the native peoples. Okay? Then another generation comes up in the face of changes in the U.S. economy and the need to pull black people out of the South and into the factories. Black people stood up and they waged struggle in a civil rights movement. They gave their lives. They stood up. White people stood with them. They went down from the North and stood with them. This upended Jim Crow. It was heroic that many did just unbelievably brave things. And then that was dismantled. And what did this system come back with? A new Jim Crow of mass incarceration that has ground up millions of black lives. So when I tell the story, this is science, when I tell the story of a black woman in Harlem with binoculars next to her window watching in terror every time her 12-year-old, 13-year-old son crosses the street because of what police do every day to black people, every fucking day. When I talk about that, that is a particular that concentrates a huge reality that is defining to this country. And that's scientifically true. It's evidence-based. It's woven into the fabric of this society. It's culture, it's economics, and it's global reach. And so we could debate. If you want to argue that's not scientific, bring some evidence. If you didn't hear the science, then please, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me that it's a marginal thing. Tell me that to talk about that, I'm pimping off of it. I'm acknowledging reality. You want to say it's not defining to this country, that we shouldn't talk about it?
I want you to talk about it.
I am talking about it, yeah.
Okay, so just the fact that something actually happened or is true,
Yeah.
doesn't, anything that's empirically based is not science, right? It's like saying anything that's true is scientifically, like, it's science. It's not. So I understand.
Okay. Okay. Let me help. Oh, go ahead. Maybe he should get the mic.
I understand that your point is I want to be building arguments based on reason and rationale.
Here, take the mic just so it gets.
I understand that your point is I want to be building arguments on reason and rationale, but that doesn't mean that it's scientific, and that doesn't mean that it's false or wrong.
Okay.
I'm saying that the validity of your argument doesn't increase by throwing the word science out. Is all I'm trying to say.
Okay, so I would argue that science actually can be applied to all of reality, not just narrowly in engineering or in the natural sciences. No, this is important. What you're raising is widely felt, it's widely believed, it's widely taught, I'm sure, on this campus, that you can apply science to medicine, to nature, to the natural world. There's the hard sciences, but when you get to social reality, it's just opinions, it's experience, whatever. No. You can apply science to everything. Everything that is part of reality, which societies are, can be analyzed scientifically. Yeah. All science means, in a universal sense, is it's an evidence-based process. You gather evidence about reality, and you look for the deeper causes of the patterns in reality. And you can apply that to a society, just like you can apply it to a rainforest, just like you can apply it to a virus. You can say, what is the most defining thing about any given society? What undergirds it? What are the laws and its functioning? And a scientific analysis of this society says the most defining thing about this country is it's a capitalist, imperialist mode of production. That all of our needs are met through exploitation and people laboring in conditions all over the world to get the food we need, the clothes we wear, the pens we use, the microphones. All of this is created through global networks of production. And that all of our cultures, all of our ways of living, all of our ways of relating grow out of and have to reflect and more or less correspond to that. And so when we live in a society where the exploitation and oppression of black people has been woven into that mode of production all the way down to today, it leads to the culture and the society and the kind of police terror that we have today. That's applying science to a social.
You know, the idea that immigrants or just, for this case, Indian Americans, blaming black people for their problem is just part of a broader dynamic where immigrant groups entering the United States, racial hierarchy must find ways to position themselves within an already existing structure built on centuries of anti-blackness. Yes, I said anti-blackness. You see, when Indian immigrants arrive, they encounter not a neutral society, but one whose institution, which includes education, which includes policing, which includes employment, neighborhood zoning, were historically designed around white stroke non-white divide, with black people placed at the bottom of the hierarchy. Because of this pre-existing structure, many immigrants subconsciously internalize the racial narratives that dominate American life. Now, they hear this message that black people are lazy, complainers, criminals, or dependent on welfare. And these narratives, honestly, they mislead. They mislead explanation for American inequalities or the reality of what black people are going through in the United States, right? So instead of seeing how systemic racism shapes outcomes for black people, some Indian Americans mistakenly interpret these disparities as cultural behavioral failures, thus forming the mistaken belief that black people are responsible for the challenges faced in the country, including the challenges faced by Indian Americans themselves. And this is, that's where it gets diabolical. Sociologists call these phenomenon, this is what we call social triangulation, right? Or interminority distancing. And this refers to how immigrants group themselves. How immigrant groups are encouraged by the dominant society to compare themselves to black people in order to measure their own belongings and worth. So brothers and sisters, buckle up for this video. I'm hoping it's going to be valuable. I'm hoping you're going to find values in the commentary that I'm going to make. But until then, if you're watching this video for the first time, I'm asking you to please subscribe to the channel, join the membership, and really get to see what I can offer you. But until then, let's get into the video. I'll be back and then I'll be sharing my thoughts in regards to this.
One thing about what is very interesting about us black people, no matter what variation of black you have, no matter what, it's still perceived, whether you agree with it or not, as black. If you have a baby with a black man or a black woman has a baby with an Indian person, that child is considered to be black. Now you can call yourself biracial because that's what it is. In the eyes of society, you are classed as black. Even if you are a child that looks white, the moment, the far white, the ones that are white supremacists, the moment they even hear or get a sniff of the fact that you have any black in you, you're no longer considered white. Right? Right, exactly. So no matter what we mix with, you will always be considered black, whether you agree with that or not. That's just how society sees it. So there is no real fear of us going out into another culture and integrating and having children with other cultures. There's no real risk of us dying out as a breed. We don't have
All of your examples of oppression or people going through struggle were all from the black community.
Go back and watch the original video because she reads his ass for filth. The reason why the school that you're going to isn't segregated is because of the work of black folks. The reason why you are not immediately in shackles, I guess, because you're still a slave here, by the way, is because of black people. You're welcome. Y'all want our culture. You want our food. You want our dances. You want our medicine. You want all the things that black people are and provide. But you don't want to read a book. And that's weird for me personally. Y'all don't come over here and like read any type of anything outside of your anti-black rhetoric that you're given from your parents and from other folks who tell you that black people are the reason why this country is whatever. The reason why this country is a foundation at all is because of our labor. Our fucking labor, by the way. And it makes me so crazy to see other brown and black folks, because let's not, Africans have their own words for us. Africans have their own like diaspora war issues with us. But the reason why you're over here is because of black Americans. The reason why you're over here and thriving is because of black Americans. We ain't seen not a fucking lick of reparations, not a lick of it. But y'all got grants, y'all got all types of fucking businesses and shit, thriving businesses. Do you know why that is? I don't think they know why it is. And that's your fucking problem. You're gonna end up just like these white folks, ass the fuck out. And black folks are gonna be fine, specifically black women. I don't have any hope for black men, but that's another story for another day. Brown immigrants will get this one whiff of white supremacy, what do you call them shits? Benefits, white supremacy benefits, and they don't let go. They love it. They love some white supremacy benefits. Y'all have fun with that shit. Really thrive with it. I hope it works for you.
On working against identity politics, yet I think
it's funny to see how y'all want to be in close proximity to whiteness, but at the same time, you know what? I'm not even gonna say shit, and no other black person should even say shit, because right when this shit blow up in their face, laugh. That's what I'm gonna do. Laugh, bitch. Because you know what? When they overturned Roe versus Wade, that was meant for white women. And now white women can't even get close to a hospital to get abortion safely, because guess what? We took their rights away. That was never meant for no black person, no POC, but it was meant for white women. And now they overturned the affirmative action and all that shit. Bitch, that was meant for whites. It was never meant for blacks. Yeah, it was nice to have it for us to make sure we was included in bitch ass shit, but majority of those universities and stuff was not filled with black people. They were filled with white people. Sprinkle a little black, sprinkle a little Asians, sprinkle a little Hispanic. Baby, it was never meant for us. So therefore, I don't give a fuck no more. Baby, I never gave a fuck. However, this shit is fucking funny to watch because this shit is gonna blow up in your face. And do not look for the black woman vote because guess what? I cannot see. I am fucking blind, bitch. I don't know a damn thing. And when that revolution happened, bitch, I got that blicky for your ass. Just know that, bitch. I don't give a fuck no more. Maybe y'all want to be in so close of proximity to whiteness that you don't realize that they're using y'all asses. You never gave a fuck, so baby, guess what we gonna do? Not give a fuck either, because let's call a spade a spade. We told y'all. We've been telling y'all for years, for decades. My parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and so on and so forth. So therefore, when this shit blow up in y'all fucking face, guess what all the black people gonna do? Now I mean it. And not y'all coon ass black people. I mean seriously. Turn the other way. Don't give a fuck. You think they give a fuck about us? Let that ingest in your fucking brain, bitch.
All of your examples of oppression or people going through struggle were all from the black community.
And that really bothered him. That really did. That tore him up. I don't know what this is about, but I'm noticing an uptick of South Asian people coming out of nowhere, like trying to minimize and like explain the black experience. And I don't like it. Like this is like the fourth, I think, South Asian person. You have the guy with Don Lemon on CNN. You got Ozu, who just got on Twitter talking about Joy Reid and now this situation. And I'm gonna need y'all to stop. It's like, stop it. Like, you're not us. You know what I mean? Like, you're not us. You know, we may have certain experiences where we parallel in that way. Like, both of our cultures deal with colorism. But it's rooted from anti-blackness. Like I say, you have experiences that parallel, but it's not the same, you know? So, like, don't do that. But that aside, you know, for some people, it's just easier to believe the hype. He clearly has bought into that whole illusion of, you know, here in America, we don't see color. And it's all about, like, your character, your contemporary character. You know, it's all about that. It's all about the things. It's all about, you know, it's all about who you are as a person. And not about, like, what you look like. You know, he bought into all of that. I'm sure he brought into the whole idea that black people were lazy and that we complain a lot and that we're ungrateful and blah, 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 blah. So, like, for him, I'm sure hearing this and it doesn't help that he's hearing it from a white lady, honey. It's really stinging him, I bet, on that part. So it has to be true because a white person is saying it. So I know that's tearing him up too. But it's just like, you know, it is what it is, you know. I would like to think that after getting reamed by this lady, honey, that he went home and, you know, started his path to unlearning all of the BS that he learned and was subjected to in his, you know, growing up and development and navigating the world as a brown person. You know, maybe not, you know, it is what it is. But our history is well documented, you know. That's why they're working so hard to try to keep it from being in schools and things, because the history is well documented. The truth is out there. You just got to go look for it. Period.
I think you build a foundation of your speech on working against identity politics.
Honestly, I wish the ancestors of black Americans did not fight for the descendants of these ungrateful MFers. Because, let me tell you, before I get into what I'm finna say, the revolution will not be televised. Now, with that being said, I hope all y'all Indians, Asians, Indians are Asians, unlike, you know, the continent or whatever. All y'all non-blacks, especially y'all non-black Americans, y'all are going to be in this on your own. And when the revolution do start, please, for the love of God, do not look for black people. And for black people, do not try to help them, because people of color solidarity does not exist, and it damn sure does not include your black ass. So when these people be realizing that they're not white, because in their head they believe that they white. In their head they believe that they're one step above black people. When the revolution happened, y'all asses are going to be the first ones stuck, confused, and most likely dead. Because I promise to God, I'm fighting with a smile on my fucking face. I got a 4.5 and a 2.2. Which one you want?
I think you build a foundation of your speech on working against identity politics.
This is why when people say, well, Todd, you're a person of color. No, I'm not. I'm black. People of color do not like black people. They do not want to have community with us. They make that very clear every fucking day. I won't say all people of color, but I'll say enough do shit like this. If you can't undercut us, you want to use us as a prop. I don't like that shit. Compound that with the fact that every community in the world has their own form of anti-blackness. Hello? One of these things is not like the other. So no, I don't really want to be looped into a group of people who would throw me under the bus without a second thought if they thought it would put them ahead. A lot of people of color, like a lot of white people, like black people for the service that we provide you, for the culture that we provide you. You don't see us as people. So no, we're not BIPOC. I'm black.
You build a foundation of your speech on working against identity politics.
This why I only speak on black issues. I will never consider myself BIPOC because the IPOC don't like us. Like, I've never met a group of people so freaking ungrateful in my life. Like, I don't get it. The reason why you have all these rights in the first place is because of us. It's because of us. When y'all need us again, don't call us no more. Because y'all gotten y'all reparations. We ain't even gotten a fucking I'm sorry. You know what? Screw y'all.
Of your speech on working against identity politics. Yet,
as of now I see why a lot of black people do not like calling themselves or like to align themselves with quote-unquote POC. Yeah. This is total bullshit.
all of your examples of oppression or people going through struggle were all from the black community.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but this reads off to me as jealousy. This man is jealous that one racial group's problems is being talked about and not his own, and they're being talked about from the people at the highest point of the racial hierarchy. I feel like a lot of people of color feel that white people don't talk about the issues in their racial group enough, the issues that, we can all argue white people have caused. And I feel like when they hear white people talking about our issues, it pisses them off because they feel like their issues aren't represented in the same nature. But instead of being mad at white people, they're mad at us. And they're mad at how active and loud we are about our problems, except when they need us to act for them because they feel like our tactics work. Because then they pull that POC unite. The thing is, these groups need to learn that they will never get anywhere hating on black people. And they will never get anywhere trying to kiss the YT man's ass. If you feel like your problems are not being talked about, be louder. But don't get mad at one specific group because they're doing what they have to do.
An Indian American, he realized the only way that he would be accepted at med school would be to pass as black. He chronicled his experiences in his book, Almost Black, the true story of how I got into medical school by pretending to be black. VJ Chokol Ingham joins me now. So you were studying statistics at the University of Chicago, and you say to yourself, I don't stand a chance with my 3.1. What did you do?
Well, I shaved my head, I trimmed my eyelashes, and I decided to join the organization of black students so I could apply to medical school as a black man. I also used my middle name, Jojo. I subsequently interviewed at medical schools across the country and managed to get waitlisted at Washington University and the University of Pennsylvania, then ranked the second, and the third and fourth best medical schools in the country, and got into St. Louis University School of Medicine, despite the fact that my pretty pitiful 3.1 GPA was dramatically lower than their average of 3.7.
Where did all the hate for India come from? I don't know if this is just an American thing, but I've just been seeing it a lot lately, and it's just in random videos.
So I have been trying to figure out really the best way to address this without getting outright canceled, but I'm not sure there's a way to do that. So I'm just gonna say it. And if you have to unfollow, so be it. We as Indians are not responsible for Indian hate, but we do 100% contribute to its proliferation. I know that's hard to hear, but let me explain. The problem is twofold. While the West treats Indians, and honestly, to some degree, all South Asians, as a monolith, we are aware that that is not the case, and certainly do not treat each other that way. We are so desperate to clamor for hierarchy amongst ourselves. Whether you're a Punjabi mocking Gujaratis for their motel chain, or a Gujarati mocking a South Indian for his skin tone, we are often awful to each other. Hell, we allowed a comedian like that Akash Singh to build his entire platform off of pathetic early 2000s era stereotypes of us. People like us sit in the audience and clap as he just mercilessly mocks us for how we look and what we eat and who we love and how we worship. And Americans pay him handsomely because that's how they want to see us. Guys, sometimes the call is coming from inside the house. The second problem here is that this desperate pursuit of proximity to whiteness is a hell of an addiction. When you are fighting to be part of a group that wants nothing to do with you, that hates you for your very existence, and you're willing to grin and bear your way through things like this.
Bill would not have voted for you because you're an Indian.
And not bat an eye at things like this and this. I have brown guys in the comment section of my video on the VIP list just defending their racism. See, it's one thing to tolerate cultural appropriation because you consider it acceptance. I'm not going to fight with you on that. But it's another to tolerate overt disrespect. So honestly, why should they be expected to respect us when we can't even respect ourselves?
Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are, doing great from whatever you're watching me from. Now, some Indian Americans adopt the posture of the model minority, a myth intentionally created during the 1960s to showcase Asian immigrants as successful, obedient, and non-political. And in contrast to Black Americans who are protesting segregation and demanding justice. But this model minority myth is a trap. It gives Indian Americans the illusion of proximity to whiteness, while actually preventing them from fully understanding the roots of American inequality. You see, when Indian Americans blame Black people for crime, for poverty, for political tension, they unconsciously buy into this myth, which tells them if we can succeed, then Black people must be the problem. The narrative erases the reality that Black inequality is not self-produced. It is the outcome of slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, over-policing, mass incarceration, and decades of targeted structural exclusion, brothers and sisters, right? Also, in addition to that, you get to understand that Indian Americans often fail to recognize that the privileges they enjoy in America were not earned in a vacuum. Many came after 1965, when U.S. immigration laws shifted to attract highly educated professionals from Asia. This means Indian immigration was not random. It selected for engineers, doctors, academics who already had educational and class advantage from their home countries. Meanwhile, Black Americans who are emerging from 350 years of legal oppression, denied access to quality education, capital, land ownership, and political power. Comparing these two groups, therefore, is intellectually dishonest. You see, Indian Americans are not succeeding because Black people are failing. They are succeeding because U.S. immigration policies unpick them from the highest socioeconomic tiers of Indian society. Yet, some Indian immigrants misread this structural advantage as a cultural superiority, leading to harmful judgment against Black people rather than appreciation of the racial landscape that made their own success possible. At the same time, you need to understand one thing. You see, anti-Blackness is something which is global. Yes, anti-Blackness is global. Not just American. Many Indian immigrants arrive with a preconceived stereotype shaped by colonial history, caste hierarchy, colorism, and proximity to whiteness. Now, in South Asia, lighter skin is associated with status, modernity, and beauty legacy of British rule and caste-based stratification. When Indian immigrants enter the US, they find a society that mirrors these associations. Whiteness is being rewarded, blackness is being punished. Right? This familiarity makes it easy for Indian Americans to align with white narratives and distance themselves from black people. And instead of understanding black struggles as a result of deliberate historical oppression, some Indian immigrants interpret American anti-blackness as a confirmation of bias they already know. The biases they already know. This reinforces a false narrative that black people are obstacles to America's progress or somehow responsible for the hardship of the minority groups. Now, and in many cases, you get to understand that Indian Americans who blame black people, they usually or tend to overlook how themselves they have benefited from black activism. Now, every immigrant group, including Indians, owes their citizenship rights, workplace protection, access to schools, house rights, and voting protection to the Black civil rights movement. Yes, the Black civil rights movement. Before black activism dismantled Jim Crow, the U.S. considered Asians and other non-white groups aliens ineligible for citizenship. It was the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Immigration Act of 1965. Both victories won through black struggles that opened the door for large-scale Indian immigration. Without black people challenging the American racial structure, Indian Americans would not have the political, economic, or educational opportunity they enjoy today. So when some Indian Americans blame black people for America's problems, they erase the historical truth. Their presence and success in the U.S. is directly tied to black resistance. Now, until you understand that, I think that's just going to make sense. Another issue is that many Indian Americans mistake the anti-black policing, poverty concentration, and media portrayals as due to realities rather than the result of systemic decision. You see, media disproportionately highlights black neighborhoods when discussing crimes, even crime rates among poor white communities, which are so much comparable, just to be honest. Even though crime rates among poor white communities are comparable, school in predominantly black districts receive less funding. And we've seen this case study and case scenarios so many times, right? Black professionals face discrimination in hiring and wages. Now, when Indian Americans move into the U.S., they often settle in suburban or middle-class areas far from the communities most affected by historical disinvestment. From this distance, they absorb media stereotype and generalize them into the entire black population. This creates a dangerous illusion where Indian Americans believe their own neighborhoods are safer and stable because of the good culture, while black neighborhoods are struggling because of the bad culture. Such thinking overlooks how government policy, not black identity, creates those conditions. In conclusion, I'd like to say that the idea that black people are responsible for the problems Indian Americans face in America today, this is just it's really inaccurate. It is a misunderstanding of U.S. racial history, immigration selection, socioeconomic structure, and global anti-blackness. Indian Americans who adopt this blame narrative, they fail to see one thing. And they fail to see how the system privileges the relative to black Americans and how black struggle paved the way for their opportunities. They also misunderstood the nature of structural racism, which, mistaking inequality for cultural deficiency, a more honest and a mature, look at this, will make people understand what really is happening in this case scenario. So brothers and sisters, please just let me know what you think about this video. I'm your host and presenter Tech Stories, but until then, I'm hoping to see you on my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.